Netanyahu ordered the launch of immediate powerful strikes in Gaza. I guess Netanyahu was really living up to his word there when he said, we will do whatever we want. We're an independent country. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump says or doesn't say regarding West Bank annexation, regarding the ceasefire. Netanyahu held a meeting today regarding accusations of the Palestinians violating the ceasefire agreement. Now, the last time that Netanyahu accused the Palestinians of violating the ceasefire agreement, what actually happened, and this is confirmed by the Trump White House, it's confirmed by the Trump Pentagon, there was an Israeli settler company that was utilizing a bulldozer near the Rafah border. They drove that bulldozer over what was either an unexploded ordnance or an IED. The bulldozer blew up, and Israel came out and immediately blamed the Palestinians for launching some surprise ambush attack on Israeli positions. Now, it doesn't make any sense because the attack would have had to have taken place behind Israeli occupied lines, which means that the Palestinians would have either had to have camped out in that position for 8 months with no food, no water, no provisions, or somehow they would have had to have gone directly through the Israeli lines where their military was and then gotten behind them and then attacked them, which also doesn't make any sense. So that's what happened the first time. Israel proceeded to do these large strikes on Rafah. And now we have this seemingly happening again. I don't know what the nature of these alleged violations are this time. I can't imagine they're any more legitimate than the last alleged violations of the ceasefire. Also worth noting that in the first 11 days of the ceasefire, Israel only allowed in 983 aid trucks when they were supposed to allow in 6,600. And, well, that is an egregious violation of the ceasefire terms that Israel had signed on to. That is an egregious violation. Talk about who's violating the ceasefire here. That is an egregious violation. In the first 10 days of the ceasefire, Israel either airstriked or shot over 100 Gazan civilians. That is a violation of the ceasefire. So now we get new accusations from Israel. After this meeting with Netanyahu, the talks ended without a final decision, and the IDF presented a package of possible measures against the Palestinians, including the continuation of attacks on Gaza. Netanyahu pointed out that further steps must be coordinated with the United States. Okay, well, that happened 3 hours ago. And 2 hours ago, we saw that what happened less than 2 hours ago, we saw that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu ordered the launch of immediate powerful strikes in Gaza, on Rafah in particular. I guess Netanyahu was really living up to his word there. He really meant it when he said, we will do whatever we want. We're an independent country. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump says or doesn't say regarding West Bank annexation, regarding the ceasefire. By the way, President Trump was very clear about this. When he was asked about the nature of the ceasefire, when he was asked whether or not he thought this ceasefire was going to hold, this is what he said.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, has not gone so far as to say the war is over. In your view, is the war between Israel and Hamas over?
War is over. The war is over. You understand that?
Are you confident that the ceasefire is going to hold?
I think so. I think it's going to hold. A lot of reasons why it's going to hold. But
Benjamin Netanyahu, the
real tough guy. A lot of reasons. A lot of reasons why the ceasefire is going to hold. Well, I guess not. Israel will never annex the West Bank. Cue Finance Minister Smotrich today, who went out with this map saying that the West Bank are lands of a state under Israeli sovereignty. Israel's never going to take the West Bank. Well, I guess Smotrich has different ideas. I guess he really doesn't care. Just like Netanyahu. Following security consultations, Prime Minister Netanyahu has directed the military to immediately carry out forceful strikes in the Gaza Strip. I want you to remember, The whole reason why JD Vance and then Marco Rubio were in Israel this week was because they were trying to get Israel to recommit to the ceasefire. There was the lack of aid, and there were the airstrikes on Gaza. And Trump said, I don't like that. We're going to send JD Vance, Vice President JD Vance, and Marco Rubio in to send a clear message that they have to commit to the ceasefire. They have to respect the ceasefire. No more strikes. What does Israel do? The moment that JD Vance lands, they do the West Bank annexation bill in the Knesset. Netanyahu tries to come out and claim that this was a political stunt by his opposition, but then it was uncovered by Israeli journalists that it was actually Netanyahu's own government that introduced the West Bank annexation bill. And the majority of Knesset members that supported the bill were his own government coalition members. Smotrich and Gavir both voted for and endorsed the bill. So that didn't work. Now we have this. Now we have new strikes on Rafah. If there was ever a time to mean what you say, do what you say, take action, show that your words actually mean something, right now would be the time. I get Donald Trump said he would cut all U.S. aid to Israel if Israel tried to annex the West Bank, but I mean, Donald Trump rode the coattails of the ceasefire into attempting to win the Nobel Peace Prize. If he's that serious about the ceasefire, then why can't he do anything? Why can't he withhold some of the U.S. aid to Israel? Why can't he at least even threaten to withhold some of the U.S. aid, a portion? It could be a small portion of U.S. aid to Israel. But as of right now, so far, we have nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Maybe there's a possibility that within the 2 hours of this meeting ending and Israel ordering the airstrikes, they consulted the U.S. and the U.S. agreed to these strikes. That's a possibility. It would be a very stupid thing. It'd be a direct violation of the ceasefire, but that is a possibility. I think it's a stronger possibility that Israel maybe sent a message and said, hey, look, ceasefire violated. Don't look at the details. Okay, we're going to do strikes on Gaza right now. Thank you. Thank you for your continued support. I feel like that's a stronger possibility of what actually took place. Hopefully we find out. Hopefully someone holds these people accountable.